Shvi is one of the most. I don't know one most. Is a very whoops. Mm-hmm. But when you see this tomorrow, you have to tell you that the shalom you missed tonight was great.
Okay. Who's in this one?
And that's for Baruch. Baruch. Good Torah, but even greater truth.
Oh.
Because if you take a look at this thing, because with those Chumash, there are 63 mitzvahs in this Parsha. More than 10% of all the mitzvahs in Torah in this one Parsha.
This one.
Mm-hmm.
It was more.
And that's within 74 psukim, 63 mitzvahs, which tells you that it's an action-packed Parsha. However, the last mitzvah of the 63 mitzvahs that are in this Parsha is the last pasuk of Shishi. No. No, I'm sorry. The last mitzvah is the mitzvah of Sukkah is the last of the 63 mitzvahs of this parsha. That means that everything in Shvi is not a mitzvah, which presents some interesting questions.
Oh, it's only mitzvah in Shvi. No, the last mitzvah that's listed in this week's parsha and Shishi.
I know
everything in Shvi.
So here becomes interesting because these are not counted as mitzvahs, right? The oil for the menorah is not a separate mitzvah.
Really?
Not a separate mitzvah. Back in when it was the Truma to the top, when it told us to make a menorah, that's where the mitzvah is. But this is not counted as a separate mitzvah. And that's a good question: is why is it here? So outside the Perchus, Aaron should every morning and evening make it light up the menorah. Tamid chukatzon menorah. Sechem al menorah to Yachos and Bnei Hashem. Tamid. The menorah had tahara, which seems to be talking about the pure gold. Yachos and Eres. Bnei Hashem tamid. So if it's not a mitzvah essay, so why is it tamid? Right? If you tell me that there's a mitzvah essay that somehow we should light a menorah every day, we should have some sort of mitzvah to do a menorah, and I understand why it's tamid. But here, which does include after the chov and bayis sheni, there's no menorah. So there's a lot of the chazal that there was a promise to Aaron HaKohen that there will be menorah. That's the Chanukah. So it's like a hint. The Chanukah, but it's sort of like an obscure hint when it's not even counted over here as a mitzvah essay. Excuse me.
I mean, lighting that really, it's not tamid either.
Yeah, but it's not tamid, right? It's not tamid because we don't all the time.
You could say, I don't know what happened 200 years ago, 300 years ago, but at least in Brooklyn, a large majority of the schools all like now, not from the night, but it's now.
Yeah, so you could say that maybe that's one of the reasons why it's called a ner tamid. Why shuls have a ner tamid? Because there's. That's right. It has to always be there. The menorah. But they go on to the next couple of sukkim. There would appear the mitzvah of the lechem aponim, right? But sometimes the same merachas, sheish merachas al shulchan Torah, you put six on each side. V'satul merachas l'boina zaka, you put on each side. You put cups of fragrant oils, l'boina. V'yisel lechem al skol shel Hashem, and that should be for the Kohen for Hashem. Every single day, every single Shabbos, they would read to make sure that the lechem panim was exchanged every single Shabbos. Tamid, also Tamid, even though number one that this is not where the mitzvah of lechem panim comes from. Mitzvah lechem panim comes back from Truma Tzava. It's telling you though that that there has to be six on each side. We know all this from the previous Parshas. And this will give Aaron and the sons will eat every single Erev Shabbos, but they would rotate. They would take out the old lechem upon him, and slide in the new lechem upon him, and it would give it to Aaron. And it was an amazing lechem because even one little kazayas satisfied a person. Okay, so this tells us a little bit about it, but it doesn't tell us quite. Where's the cold cuts? Where's the yellow bag? Cold cuts and the coleslaw didn't come out. No, I see it. I knew something was missing.
Johnny, yeah.
Okay. Johnny needed to have the cold cuts. Corned beef and coleslaw. Okay. Right, so just like you have to have lechem upon them, you gotta have corned beef and coleslaw. Yeah. Anyway, then so these two, the mitzvah of the ner of the Shemer Emor and the lechem upon them are brought down over here in a little bit detail, sort of like out of place, because it gives us all of the Yom Tovim. It goes through Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Pesach, and Sukkot, and the reason why we read this Parsha Shiur Kibbutz, they say Eis for the Yom Tov. However, why is these mitzvahs? Why is it here and it's not even listed as part of the minyan of mitzvahs? Then comes one of the most, I would say, painful moments in Klal Yisrael in Torah. V'yetze ben ish Yisrael v'hu ben ish mitzvah b'shach b'Yisrael v'yonotzu b'machna ben Yisrael v'ben ish Yisrael. We get up this conflict that takes place between this Jewish man who is the son of the Ish Mitzri that Moshe Rabbeinu killed. V'yonotzu b'machna, they had a fight in the machana, in the camp between these two Ben HaYisraelis or Ish HaYisraeli. And the Kli Yakar points out we don't know the name. We don't know what their names. They don't mention the names. Yeah. Well, yeah. We know who he is because he's a Ben Ish Mitzri, and we find that that's the son of Rosh Hashanah's Dibri, who Moshe Rabbeinu killed the Mitzri, who was.
Could you say there's a difference between knowing and saying?
But it's this whole parsha has been Ish Mitzri. It's such a problematic parsha because Moshe killed the Mitzri. This poor Jew who was being beaten because he discovered the activities of this Mitzri, and she became pregnant from that Mitzri, and this. He comes into Klal Yisrael, and this you got to realize that Moshe Rabbeinu was maybe 20 or 40 years old, according to different opinions, 20 or 40 years old when he had to flee, when this took place, right? So this Ben Ish Mitzri was either 40 or 60 years old, right? Right. And go ahead, sit down, take a big plate. Can't sit down to do like no, I small. I don't want some more. Take a big plate. Take a big plate, put a little bit on. And and he doesn't have any children. Because if he would have had children, then Moshe Rabbeinu would have seen that there would be children as part of Klal Yisrael. So here's a man who's 40 or 60 years old, not married, has no place. He keeps on, he goes to the different shvatim. The Sheva done. He goes around trying to find a place. They tell him he has no place. He says, take it with the reason why I have no place is because Moshe Rabbeinu used the Shem Hashem to kill his natural father.
His natural father wasn't Jewish.
Yeah, but Moshe Rabbeinu used the Shem first, right? Kill the Mitzri, right?
Regardless, he would have no place.
Kid, though, no?
What?
He is a Jewish kid.
So Rashi said he was Megayer because before Matan Torah, the Yichus follows the father, not the mother.
So what is it? Gave him a place in the camp or no?
Oh, so that begs the question, right? Didn't the Klal Yisrael have a place for Gerim? There were Gerim. There were Gerim. There were Gerim, the whole Arab, etc. There were Gerim in Klal Yisrael. Right? So the Kli Yakar, who's by the way, is your time was yesterday. So I want to spend a little time with the Kli Yakar. It was Shlomo Ephraim from Lunches, who was an amazing speaker and orator and writer. Many beautiful svarim, Olos Ephraim, etc. He says it must be that he walked around his whole life resenting Moshe Rabbeinu, resenting what happened, and this was the moment when that resentment exploded. Okay, which, okay? But he has no place, and he therefore he punches. He would say he punches a hole in the shame. He said that shame that killed, that set this whole sequence into effect. It can't be that was a shame Hashem. Can't be, okay, that was a shame Hashem. Because a shame Hashem would never have caused so much pain. The Moshe Rabbeinu used the Shem Parsha to help the pain of one Jew, and here that shame, that same shame, is causing this Jew an enormous amount of pain.
So according to that, he wasn't cursing himself per se. He was cursing himself.
But he wouldn't curse Hashem. He did. He cursed the Shem Hashem.
No, what I'm saying, according to that, it's not that he had anything against Hashem per se. It's used against Moshe, claiming that Moshe used Kishuv, so to say, whatever meaning.
No, he said Moshe knew that Moshe used the Shem Hashem.
Accepting God's punishment.
Yeah, he wasn't accepting.
He wasn't accepting the pain that he suffered. He said, "I can't accept it."
Yeah, he can't accept it, and it must be because of the shame, right? So therefore, he said shame. So just interesting. The Das Baltais has a whole halachic dialogue on how did they put him to death because they didn't know how it was. They said they didn't know how to kill him. So there's a problem with chasra, with warning a person. If you have to warn him, you have to tell him what punishment. Vayikra ves Hashem, vayikra ben Yisrael Yisrael Hashem v'kalav v'yaviu Yisrael Moshe v'Shem Imrei Shlomo bas Dibri bas Lamat. He didn't remain anonymous, right? His mother was pointed out as being the one woman who was compromised on all of the time the place was in Mitzrayim. So. Says it. So that's kind of maybe you could say that he was a Talmud Chacham. He was a chaver because he knew that there would be a liable with his life if he did it. But I forgot which one it was. One of the Parsha said that Veda would next to a couple of sukkim. Huh? Then the Chayu Bamishra Lifresh Hashem, they put him into a jail under guard. In order to discover listen to what Hashem wanted to tell them. So here Hashem tells Moshe, you take the Makal out. And then those who heard what he said, Somchu, Call Hashem Yedayim. They have to put their hands on his head. So I think it's the Das Kanim says they had to do that because in order to say the Eidos, they had to repeat what he said. They had to come to Best and say, we heard him say, and he has to say it, right? So they said they put their hands on his head. So say, we are now going to say this vile statement, right? It's your fault. It's your fault. Put our hands on your head. It's your fault. But we have to come and say Eidos to say the Shem Hashem in the way that he said it.
What do you think at this point, Save the Mountain Terror, they worked the halacha, it should have been a bezdin, and
Except for that, when we start taking into account all of the different factors that we talked about, the best, and it's not sure which should we hold him liable for an expression of pain for which he was actually in tremendous amount.
wait, he was Machal Shabbat, and he needed a throw.
He was. Yeah, he was Mavarach Hashem.
Did he get the Asra? Did he get it?
So you have to say he had Asra, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to give. They wouldn't have given him to Misa.
Why are we worried that they're going to actually meet? Why did they have to put their hands on his head one day?
Because they're saying the name of Hashem exactly as he said it.
So
They have to say he said.
So this.
Yeah.
So worried that they might mean it themselves.
But no, they're saying the name of Hashem with a curse on it. They have to repeat it.
So why not put the hand on the head? Why couldn't they say
Just
that
say,
he said,
Yeah, okay. They say that's confirmed. So that's why I said some chassidim or Rishon. Yeah, those who heard have to put their hand on his head. He said in order to be able to say that they definitely don't mean it. They're doing it because I got to say that.
so don't mean themselves. They could just say it without their hands.
Well, they got
But you can't say it without the name because then it's not. Then they're not saying.
Saying the name of Hashem itself.
why can't they just point at him and say he said X, Y, and Z?
They could have, but then it's so
They
awesome.
didn't have X, Y, and Z.
It's such a severe avera of being mevarches in the name of Hashem. Yeah, that for a Jew to even repeat it was frightening.
You know what Shem Hashem said?
Maybe the one that killed his father.
The one that killed his father, shame of first. So the shame of first, the same shame that the Kohen Gadol says in Yom Kippur.
How did you know the name? How did you know that?
Because he heard Aaron Kohen say the shame on Yom Kippur.
Oh, this is only after Yom Kippur.
It's after Yom Kippur.
We just had this.
Right. So when Aaron said, all Klal Yisrael heard it.
Sure.
That was on the economy.
So you shame es Hashem. Ay 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 ay. But you say me bikayin gadol. Ay 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 ay. Maybe I say, do shove it, so yeah, they had to hear it.
Was that on a book?
No. What?
No.
According to it could be. It could be. According to Rabbeinu Bachai, on a Bukharich is the Shem of first.
But we don't know how to actually say it.
Actually, we do.
Only 42 letters.
No, it's actually on a book. Like that's how.
Actually, we know how to say it.
The letters. No, it's not.
We know the Nakudas too.
Really?
Oh yes,
That's how
we know the Nakudas. So it's almost impossible to pronounce. I just I look at the name of the Nakudas and how could he even say it? It's so hard to. It would be so hard to say. But nevertheless.
It's like they go, you can do it. It's not. Nothing's gonna happen. You can say it. Nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I remember Rabbeinu Kippur said that the Kohen Gadol might not have even been able to pronounce it himself.
That's right.
Open up the mouth, and the Shem Hashem came.
That's right.
He had to repeat, right?
Okay. So anyway,
How was he able to say it?
he
That's
did.
like a gospel then.
Right.
Yeah.
So then how was he able to study it?
What the hell is it?
Yeah. So the Gemara says that that Isa Ish went to the Kodesh, went to Yom Kippur and they had the Gemara tells that they had lions at the gates of the Beit HaMikdash. So the people walking out on Yom Kippur, these lions would roar and people would forget the Shem of first. So Isa Ish,
Right.
What?
From fright?
From fright. So Ish took a needle with him into the base of Mikdash, stuck a needle into his coat, which he's not carrying, and then he scratched it on his leg, the shame on first, and he could fly.
On Yom Kippur, it's good.
Yeah, he scratched on you.
This first tap that this person did?
Yeah, I thought Ish. No.
Was that?
Yozel.
Yeah,
That's how he walked on water. Yeah.
And that raises so many questions.
Yeah.
Cutting himself on Yom Kippur, making himself bleed potentially.
I don't think he cared once he was right. Shame of first.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so there's so many different pieces to this parsha. Okay, so we have this parsha. Okay, why it fits in right over here? That's also a question. Why is it in between the after all the Yom Tov, the Lechem upon is the mitzvahs, all the mitzvahs, right? All of a sudden comes this, and the parsha doesn't finish there. Okay, then we get the Pasuk of Zion. Ish ki akeh, kol nefesh adam Moshe, was a person kills another Jew, he should be put to death. And if he killed an animal, he has to pay for it, the same value of the animal. And if a person caused another Jew damage, he has to pay what the damage that he caused. That's what we give him. We has to compensate him. Not by one of the great mistranslations in the non-Jewish version. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
It's not the division?
Huh?
It's not the actual translation?
No, the actual translation is you have to replace the value of the eye. You have to replace the value. Knocking out an eye doesn't help the person who lost the eye.
Right. That's the difference.
It's Torah Shabbat.
And also the Ishmael.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's what I'm saying. That's not one problem. The words are.
And you kill an animal, you have to pay for it. And if the animal kills a person, they put the animal to death. Should be one uniform set of laws for Jews and for Gerim. Okay, so good. So now it's a shift. Why is shifted into these psukim, which is they're not counted as mitzvahs.
And then they go back.
It's not counted as mitzvahs, right? All they have these psukim, which are really part of Loitzachbo, which is back in Parsha Mishpatim, right? And they're not counted as mitzvahs. They're just like a statement that, you got to be held responsible. You cause another Jew harm. And then the Parsha concludes. And they go back. Yeah, but they did. They took the Mechalel out. They stoned him. So why do you have to tell us that? Right? And where this? So all these fragments.
And why did it put everything in the middle?
Yeah. So again, the Kli Yakar, who's was yesterday, says that obviously we don't know the names of the people who he had this fight with. It was from Bnei Dan. Doesn't say who it was because they went they started fighting as they ended up in Beis Din. He says the person who this Ben Isha Israel is. We don't know his name. We also don't know the name of the person that he was fighting with, because it's no great honor to have said that these two Jews were fighting. So even the person he was fighting with must have been a troublemaker, because he could have. Who told you you have to go ahead and defend the whole tribe? The whole tribe Shevet Dan. Let the Nasi of Shevet Dan decide if which person belongs or not. Instead, he said, "No, I'm not going to let you. We're not going to let you into the Machana." They started fighting. So I ended up in Beis Din. And so the responsibility for this whole parsha is these two Jews fighting. What caused the Ish Mitzri, Moshe Rabbeinu, to run away from from after he killed the Ish Mitzri, 2 Jews fighting. Who were those 2 Jews? So Chazal tells us Das and Aviram. Why was Das and Aviram? So my son Reb Shimon he heard the cheer and he told me, and then he found out it's Chida. He says, who were these 2 men? They were Das and Aviram. Why? Because who was the person that was being beaten? It was Dasan. It was Dasan. Dasan's wife was compromised by the Mitzri. So these 2 Jews were fighting because Aviram was saying to Dasan, you know what your wife was like? So those 2 started fighting. Those 2 people ended up being part of the conflict. But what caused this whole thing to take place? So the Chida says, it's a very cute word. He says, Das and Aviram, right? Where by Maisa Korach, well, but not only did Korach go get swallowed up by the earth, but Das and Aviram got swallowed up by the earth. And them and all their families. Except for this one person. Why? Because he wasn't part of the Shevet. Because he said, no, you know who my father's Dasan. So he's part of Shevet Reuven. Right? And Shevet Reuven didn't want to have him. But when after the earth swallowed up Dasan and Aviram, and he got left in so his case, he was no longer part of Shevet Reuven. The proof was that he didn't get swallowed up.
Wait, that was a stepdad?
Huh?
Was that a step? The step. I thought the picture was
Right.
so what's
Yeah.
See,
all these years he claimed that he was the son of Dasan.
And he wasn't swallowed up, which means he wasn't part of
It wasn't. So then he went to Sheva Dan. Says the mother. Sheva Dan said, "Hey, listen."
It doesn't go by the mother.
It doesn't go by the mother. So it's all of a sudden this man, after being, let's say, 60 years old, having no place in Klal Yisrael, ends up in a conflict, the same type of conflict which would cause Moshe Rabbeinu to go into Golus. So the Aruch HaMakor is a very sweet, very sensitive word. The Aruch HaMakor says, Hashem told Moshe, it's your responsibility. You know, it was because of what you did that caused this to happen. Had you not killed the Ish Mitzri?
Even if he did, if he saw him.
So he said, V'dav Moshe B'nai Yisrael, Moshe said, okay, Rabbi Yisai, I take responsibility that the Jew is about to die because we couldn't give him a place, and it's my fault.
I mean, what was he supposed to have done?
Huh?
We should simply kill them and then.
I know, because still Moshe Rabbeinu felt responsible.
At the end of the day, once you're done,
And it is, so he's medayik. So the Aruch HaMakor said, listen to how he says it. The Kanam of Yitzir HaMakalo shechoizel el Yisrael. All Yisrael took responsibility for it. They told Moshe, because of the Shabech Yisrael, the pasuk coming down, the praise of Klal Yisrael. B'amu b'nei Yisrael also kasher Hashem LaMoshe. Pierce la'aseh kad mehem b'dibur Yisrael also Isaac kadim she'aseh Moshe. The Moshe Rabbeinu, we're not going to let you take responsibility. We'll take responsibility for it.
we're going to take.
They went Zrizas. They said, Moshe Rabbeinu, step back. What you did was on the behalf of benefit of Klal Yisrael. So Moshe Rabbeinu, don't take personal responsibility for it. That's our Chaim HaKadosh.
That's when they were still in Mitzrayim.
What?
Now. Or when they were still in Mitzrayim or now?
No, they stoned him. Bnei Yisrael said to Moshe Rabbeinu said, listen, this is responsibility. I'm going to, they said, Moshe Rabbeinu, step back. Klal Yisrael is doing it. You did l'shem Klal Yisrael. But also as a kaidim she'aseh Moshe, the Sad has Jesus. They jumped ahead. They said, Moshe Rabbeinu, stop. Amur l'kaim mitzvah Hashem. They said, we're going to do what Hashem told us to do. So if we take this into try and put a context for all these different pieces, Moshe Rabbeinu was told, Moshe Rabbeinu, take responsibility and you need to press the oil. Make sure the Shem is off. make sure the Kohanim are doing what they're supposed to do. This is Moshe Rabbeinu's responsibility. It's not a mitzvah in the Torah. It's not mitzvahs. This is Hashem tells Moshe, tell Bnei Yisrael, they should take on your behalf. Listen to the pasuk goes. Daber el Bnei Yisrael v'yikhu eilecha Shem Zayazov. The Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to take responsibility for the Shemen, for the Shemen Emor. Hashem says no. That's Daber el Bnei Yisrael. They should take on your behalf. They should take Shem Zayazov. The pasuk is not telling you a mitzvah of taking a pressing the oil. We know that from Parsha Truma Tetzaveh. But Moshe Rabbeinu is Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, you have to know the Klal Yisrael is taking over your responsibility, right? And then he says, and then the L'kachta soilas Moshe Rabbeinu L'kachta, you should take soilas of Yisrael, you should bake 12 loaves of bread, right? V'santa, you Moshe Rabbeinu should place them. You should put them 6 and 6. When the start on the bunny voice of Lechem Laskar, they share Hashem. Okay. May Ace B'nei Yisrael return. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu, you tell you should set up the secret how to set up the Lechem upon him, but the Lechem upon him has to come from B'nei Yisrael. Again, B'nei Yisrael are given over the responsibility that Moshe Rabbeinu carried himself. Then the Parsha, the Mekhalel makes sense. Because Moshe Rabbeinu felt that he would take responsibility for the Mekhalel also. Moshe Rabbeinu felt, he looked at everything that had been caused by the sequence of 60 years of turmoil in this one person's life, that he never had a place. He always belonged to, when he thought of Dasan Abiram, we know we're a conflicted person, people. B'nai Yisrael says, however, the responsibility of every single Jew to each other is still the responsibility of every single Jew. So therefore, because we recognize that what we do affects another Jew, so therefore, at this point, it told us, if one Jew kills another Jew, has to put the if he kills the animal, he has to pay for it. Because the individual responsibility is really what this parsha is about. Right? The Baruch Hashem took he violated an individual's prerogative. He didn't accept the decision of Klal Yisrael. He didn't accept the fact that Bnei Yisrael told him, he went to Besdin, he went to Moshe Rabbeinu, the two fighters, this quote son of Dasan ended up fighting with the person who was rejecting him, and they end up in the Besdin. Every single Jew has their responsibility, and the Besdin has to take responsibility for every Jew. And therefore, ultimately, after it tells us that these, if you cause damage to another Jew, this is part of the Kliyaka. The Torah is telling us every single Jew has responsibility for what they do to each other. So therefore, these psukim came over here as part of this, not the sequence, but because of there's a word for it, man. I'm getting to the point the words are starting to disappear. Mishpat echad yeh lachem. There's one set of laws for every single Jew. Every Jew carries responsibility for what happens to another Jew. And the Parsha of Mevorach Hashem was to tell us that what one Jew does affects all Klal Yisrael. Therefore, all Klal Yisrael has to take responsibility for the one Jew. So ultimately, they put their hands on his head to say, we have to say Eidos for what happened over here. But Klal Yisrael took responsibility for the punishment. So it has this multi-level intertwined parsha. After it told us, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Pesach, Sukkot, says that Klal Yisrael And Rashi said it before. It says before, Elam Me'adeh Hashem. Yeah, this three times it says, but on Pasuk Lamazan, Elam Me'adeh Hashem, Shetikos Mekor Kodesh, Lahaki Vish Hashem, Olam Mincha V'Zevushan. It already said it twice before. It said before, Elam Me'adeh Hashem, Shetikos Mekor. Rashi says, why does it tell us this? To tell us, Mikra Kodesh, to tell us, to tell us, I'll find it in a second, to tell us that whoever keeps the Yom Tovim is supposed to keep Shabbos. Oh, that's the earlier one. Because it starts off, the sequence of the Yom Tovim starts off. This tells us that Hashem is going to give Moshe, giving you the Yom Tovim. Still does Shabbos. The right says, why does it tell us Shabbos? We're talking about the Yom Tovim. Why does it start off with Shabbos? Why does it go straight to the Yom Tovim? So Rashi says, I'm sorry. To tell us that whoever Machal Yontav is as if they Machal Shabbos, and whoever keeps Yontav, as if he keeps the Shabbos. So it's a very interesting Rashi. I mean, sort of like, okay, I understand to say if you keep Yontav, if you keep Shabbos, you keep Yontav, it's like keeping Yontav. But to say that if you keep Yontav, it's like keeping Shabbos, does that give you, does that say, you know, if a person says, you know, it's like we used to call them the once-a-year Jew. They showed up on Yom Kippur. If they kept Yontav, that's it. They're part of the Shabbos. They're already keeping Shabbos. They're part of Chal Yisrael.
At least he says he's Jewish.
Yeah, it's Jewish, right? So here it tells us, as Rashi is saying, if you take a look at how the entire Parsha Yom Tovim starts off, it's to tell us that Klal Yisrael and the effect that we have on each other is even if a person he only keeps Yontif, he Shabbos, as if he kept Shabbos. Very interesting Rashi. When we put this into context of everything that's happening in Klal Yisrael today, is when something happens to one Jew, wherever they are, it affects all of Klal Yisrael, and all of Klal Yisrael needs to take responsibility for what happens to every single Jew. And so when we see tragedies happen in Klal Yisrael, we can't say, it's them. We can't say, well, listen, the soldiers were in the wrong place at the wrong time. No such thing. Klal Yisrael is being asked to pay attention to that which happens to every single Jew. We can't. There's no space between the effect of every Yachid and the effect upon Klal Yisrael, as well as the effect of Klal Yisrael on every Yachid. And we're reminded of this over and over and over again, and we haven't learned the lesson yet. We're still not saying, yeah, them, it's us, it's them, it's us. There is no us and them. These Parshas tell us that even the person, Baruch Hashem, Klal Yisrael takes responsibility for it. You know, the person did the worst thing that a Jew could do. Chilul Hashem, of the utmost. Klal Yisrael has to listen. Klal Yisrael, so we understand your pain, we understand the consequence of your actions also. There's no separateness. Klal Yisrael's responsibility to each other is ultimately what this seems to be. This whole parsha comes out of place to tell us you have the Yom Tovim. Sure, that every Jew has a place. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu will listen and take us and give us Moyad Hashem. Moshe leads Klal Yisrael. V'yidaber Moshe guides Klal Yisrael how to keep the Moyad to see the Moyad the Beit HaMikdash b'meir amen.